Hey, what's going on, good people? It's your boy James Harris, founder of Mental Heal, author of Man Just Express Himself. Listen, I just want to tell you guys thank you so much for the love that you continue to show me on the movement, the book, and of course now this new YouTube channel. You guys definitely did your thing with liking, sharing, subscribing. Make sure you continue to do that. I definitely appreciate you. I didn't anticipate it to grow as rapidly as it did, but we are here. So, with that being said, I will be introducing a new segment that I'll be interviewing different men throughout the community as well as in different places. And I wanted to do this so you guys can not only just hear my voice and the lessons that I provide for you guys on different knowledge and subject, but I thought it would be an interesting way for other men to tell their story of resilience and their road to their wellness journey. So we're going to be talking in these interviews about mental health, physical health, relationships, substance use recovery, early detection, different societal norms, relationships, athletes and mental health, maybe politics and mental health, and the stressors that's coming from that. And also masculinity. We might dive into that as well. So it's so many amazing men who have reached out that are open to tell their story. So, I'm gonna put something together, man. One Tuesday out of the month. I think it'll be interesting for you guys to hear that dynamic. So be willing and open to listen. I hope you guys continue to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you do that. Make sure you also get the book. Go support. With that being said, the guest that I got coming up is. What's going on, man? I got my man here with me. If you would, just please introduce yourself. Tell people who you are, what resources you're about to offer in this presentation that we're about to get into.
All right, brother James. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight on your platform. I love what you're doing with Men to Heal. It's a great service that's needed, and a lot of men don't talk about that. And you are doing a stellar job leading the charge on that, brother. So keep up the good work. I am Eric Taylor. I am a nurse practitioner specializing in men's health. I am the CEO of Pryority Male LLC, where men's health is the priority, and I provide health services for men here in the city of Houston and virtually. When it comes to men's sexual health and wellness, just routine health, urgent care, you name it, I got you covered and I got your back. Tonight, we're going to be discussing colorectal cancer awareness here in the community. Going to be dropping some stats and facts, and hopefully this presentation here will bless you and save a life or change a life in the process.
Man, definitely thank you for the heck of an introduction. I definitely appreciate all the work that you're doing out there. But specifically, a lot of men are so reluctant to go to the doctor, get physicals, and don't know the importance of early detection. So if you could, man, even that colon piece, because just the stigma surrounding that of how to actually get those exams and so many more things that you're gonna uncover in your presentation. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, man. Whichever direction you want to flow with it. If you want to share the screen, let me make sure I got that on.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. So
we
we'll
can go
share
from
the
there.
screen. We'll
Okay.
share the screen.
Good.
And let's see here. You got it. Let's see here. So let me do this. All right. Share. And let's get it pulled up here. All right. Let's see. All right. So here we go, brothers. Again, Brother James has a wonderful platform here. And if y'all not following him, y'all missing out. Y'all need to get on the bandwagon and stay with him. He's doing some great stuff. And your life will be changed just from following him. All right, so tonight, again, he's brought me on, and we're going to talk about colorectal cancer awareness, and we're also probably going to do a two-part series here and talk about prostate as well. So let's begin. Again, colorectal cancer presented by Eric Taylor, myself, CEO of Pryority Male LLC. Now, learning objectives here are going to be, we're going to talk about colon and prostate cancer in the adult male. We're going to identify some signs and symptoms that you need to be aware of. We're going to discuss the factors and statistics, risk factors and statistics that will help you better understand what role they play and how they impact you and what you need to know to advocate for yourself to get the care that you need. And then we're going to talk about some of the screening methods and prevention opportunities here with both cancers. All right. Now, colorectal cancer. Now, again, I have to pause here and I have to bring up brother Chadwick Boseman, 43 years of age. I am 43 years of age. Chadwick died way too soon, and he was a really great star at what he did in the community. He will forever be our Black Panther and superhero in the community. And to see him handle his condition such as he did, with humility and grace, and to die in the way that he did, touched the hearts of a lot of people here. And we need to make sure that learn something from from his loss. And a lot of times, men, especially if you're close in age, like myself, we start to do a life inventory and start looking at our mortality. And, like, hey, if he could die and he is a celebrity and got access to God knows what, and here I am, an average Joe, hell, that could happen to me. So a lot of times men will see stuff like that and it will change their course in life. If only temporary, they'll then go see the doctor at least, because men don't like to go to the doctor. But we're going to talk about colorectal cancer here, and we can have that as another conversation about where men go. I have a great presentation on that I can share with you sometime in the future, brother. But per the American Cancer Society, colorectal cancer is the second leading cause of death in the United States. 1 in 23 men, 4.4%, and 1 in 25 women, 4.1%, are going to be diagnosed with colorectal cancer at some point in their life. If you didn't know, colorectal cancer is one of the most preventable cancers out there. The hardest part is being prepped for the procedure, and I'll kind of share that here in this presentation. One of the precursors to colorectal cancer is going to be adenomatous polyps. Now, the only way to know that you have an adenomatous polyp is to have a colonoscopy, all right? And you need to know what those results are so you'll know what the follow-up is recommended for you. And the only way to do that is to have that procedure done with your doctor and follow up. There are also some inherited syndromes that play a role in the development of colorectal cancer. Familial adenomatous polyposis, or FAP as we call it in the community, Lynch syndrome, which is again a hereditary non-cancerous polyp that develops in the colon, and inflammatory bowel disease. And with inflammatory bowel disease, I'm talking about UC, or ulcerative colitis, and Crohn's disease. And if you have those conditions, you need to know your family history. That's one of the most important factors there. And that places you at a higher risk. But those conditions that I just mentioned, those inherited syndromes that I just mentioned, account for about 6% of all colon cancers out there. All right. Now let's talk about the colon cancer by the numbers. I'm a numbers guy. I like to see numbers because numbers tell the story. The science and the facts are in the numbers. Numbers don't lie. Here we are in 2020. It is estimated. Again, these are estimates based on past forecasts that we've seen over many years of looking at this data and extrapolating this data and having a very finite understanding of how this applies to the general population. In 2020, it's estimated 147,950 people are going to have colorectal cancer. Of all cancers, new cancers, this only represents 8.2%. That's actually not bad. And deaths in 2020 from colorectal cancer are going to be 53,200, just a notch over 53,000. Of all cancer deaths, this only represents 8.6%. But herein lies where the rubber meets the road. The survival rate at 5 years after being diagnosed with colorectal cancer is 64.6%. In my book, that's a D, and that's not a passing grade. But again, as you'll see in this presentation, if you catch it early, you can prevent it. All right. Now, for every 100,000 men and women in the population, about 38 are going to be diagnosed with colon cancer. Well, sorry about that. For every 100,000 men in the population as well, men and women, about 14 are going to die from colon cancer. With that said, both men and women have a lifetime relative risk of 4.2% of being diagnosed with colon or rectal cancer. All right. And these numbers are straight from the National Cancer Institute SEER report. Now, prevalence. Our prevalence is always a couple of years behind because we have to look at the years, again, extrapolate that data, do a deep data analysis of it, and make sure that we're putting the projections that are in line with what we've seen in the previous years. And these forecasts are pretty accurate. It's not like a traditional weather forecast. You may say it may rain tomorrow, there's a 40% chance, and you may not see rain at all. But with these prevalence studies, we can pretty much, with a conviction, share with you information that we know is going to come true. Now, in 2017, again, these numbers are somewhat delayed. In 2017, it was estimated that we had 1.3 million men and women living in the United States with colorectal cancer. Now, the median age at diagnosis for colorectal cancer is 67 years of age. The median age at death is 72. That's only a 5-year spread. And as you saw in the previous slide, you only have a 64.6% chance of surviving this cancer. But I kid you not, if you do the preventive proactive approach and catch this early, you can definitely change those odds in your favor. All right. Now, let's talk about some screening here in stages. What are some of the signs and symptoms that you need to be concerned about? In this slide, I have a cartoon that kind of shows the stages of the cancer, and I'm going to talk about that here in just a minute. But I want you to pay particular attention to these signs and symptoms. Abdominal pain and discomfort that you really can't explain. It's not related to those chitlins, those greens, those ham hocks, those whatever it is you think you ate that might be causing this kind of pain is not related to that. And most of the time, this pain is happening when you haven't even had anything to eat. And it is a pain that is gut wrenching, and it really knocks you off of your feet, so to speak. And when you have this pain, trust me, you're going to know it. And you're going to be like, I don't know, I don't think this is right. And you'll need to get that addressed. Along with this, you'll likely have blood in your stool. Key here is going to be painless blood in your stool. Painless blood in your stool, a lot of people will chalk that up to having hemorrhoids. Yes, we know hemorrhoids exist. There are a lot of over-the-counter home remedy type treatments for hemorrhoids, but with this one, it never really goes away. And if you pay attention to your bowels every time you have them and you see this, you need to bring this to the attention of your doctor, because this should not be happening, especially in the absence of hemorrhoids. And most people know what hemorrhoids are: itching, burning, painful rectal area. And if you're not having that and you're still having blood in your stool, that's a red flag. Your doctor needs to be aware. Changes in your bowel habits. Now, what I mean by that is, as we get older, our bowel habits change. You know, people are used to going every day, but as you age, things slow down. Just like the body slows down, the processing of food slows down. You may not have a bowel movement every day. You may go from every day to every other day. You may go from every day to every other day or every third day. But as long as you're having bowel movements and the stool caliber size, which I'm going to talk about here next, is normal for you, and you're not having any of the other symptoms, that's actually a natural process of what's going to happen with your bowel movements as you age. And think about it like this: the more active you are, the more regular your bowel movements are. If all you do is get up and turn the TV on and sit in front of the TV all day and you don't move much, don't expect your bowels to move, because they follow your activity level. All right. Changes in the size of your stool. So again, you know the normal caliber of your stool. Okay. You're going to notice a significant change. And the best example I can give, and this may ruin some of you all for those ice cream eaters out there, the self-serve ice cream, but you know how self-serve ice cream looks, how it comes out of the thing that delivers it. Your stool will go from being the normal stool you're used to seeing to almost looking like self-serve ice cream or pencil thin stool. Okay. That should not be happening. And if that's happening on a regular basis, that needs to be brought to the attention of your doctor. If you have anemia, meaning that your blood counts, your iron levels are low, and you need blood transfusions, and they can't explain why, and you also have fatigue with that, these are red flag symptoms, and they need to be brought to the attention of your doctor. And the other thing, too, that a lot of patients will be like, well, I'm losing weight, doc, and I'm not doing anything about it. You should never be losing weight and you're not actively engaged in the weight loss process, because that is a red flag for anything. And if you're doing that, your doctor needs to know. Now, as you'll see in the picture here that I have on the cartoon here, it shows you the stages of colorectal cancer. Again, stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. There are only 4 stages of cancer, okay? And the higher they go, the worse the outcomes are. But as you can see in stage 1 and 2, you see that little polyp there in the wall, the right wall of the colon, okay? What happens with the doctors when they do the colonoscopy? They go in with the colonoscopy scope or the colonoscope. They're able to lasso that polyp with medical instruments and surgically remove it without you having to have surgery. And this is the key I want you to remember. Colorectal cancer is one of the most curable cancers out there, simply just by having a colonoscopy, because the doctors have some tools and techniques that they use where they can remove a cancerous polyp without you ever having to have surgery. But this is the caveat here. The higher the range of cancer on the scale, 3 and 4, the more challenging it is to do it with the colonoscope, and the more chances that you're going to likely have to have an open surgery. All right. But that's basically what they're looking at. And that's what we expect to see on one of those levels. And our attempts to remove that, if we can, will definitely be done during your colonoscopy. All right. Now, What are some of the other factors that increase the risk of colorectal cancer? If you're age 50 or better, that's where colorectal cancer screening starts. You need to have your colon cancer test done. And if you're sitting down for dinner right now and watching the news, chances are you're going to see that Cologuard commercial, I think is what it's called, where you do the stool specimen at home and mail it in. That is a very popular and very common test, and is very sensitive and specific to colorectal cancer. So if your doctor is offering you that, I definitely encourage you to do that, especially if you're 50 or older. If you're African American, if you have a family history of colorectal cancer, you definitely need to be screened. If you're in the South, and it's not necessarily just an issue with the South, but if you eat a lot of red meats and processed meats, which we all do here in America, there's a franchise food trough on every corner somewhere. The Golden Arches, Chick-fil-A, Arby's, Burger King, you pick your choice. But that food that they provide us is processed to the umpteenth power. And with that multiple processing, it leads to some things that are not as nutritious as you think they are. And these things can actually be dangerous to you long term. All right. Having being overweight and living a sedentary lifestyle. Again, that is a problem here in America that is at epidemic proportions, because people are morbidly obese and we don't move near as much as we used to because of all the creature comforts and the lifestyles that we live today. There's no need to do a lot of things. Most of us have smart homes. You come in the door and just tell Google to do everything, and you don't have to lift a finger. That is, technology is great, but technology is slowly killing us. All right. If you smoke excessively and if you drink alcohol excessive, these are also risk factors as well. And again, as I mentioned on previous slides, if you have a family history of previous polyps or inflammatory bowel disease, this places you at a higher risk. And if you have those inherited syndromes, again, you are at high risk. And again, as you can see the cartoon here on this page to the left there, it shows you the actual colon and the landmarks that we look for. And again, you have about 5 feet of colon in you. And when they do a colonoscopy, the goal is to survey the entire 5 feet. So that scope that they use, which you'll see in the upcoming slides, is a little over 5 feet long. And I'm going to talk to you about some of the apparatuses and things that are on it and what they do. But it's about the size of your index finger, okay? And again, the hardest part for a colonoscopy, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the prep, getting clean the night before the colonoscopy. But outside of that, it's a straightforward procedure. But here's some of the risk factors again, I want to re-mention those, is diet high in meat and low in fiber, overweight, smoking, over age 50, and relatives with colon cancer or previous polyps, all right?
All right, man. Hey, this is so much good information, man. I definitely want to continue to rock out, man. I definitely want you to drop it to the people on the different methods of the procedure. So if you want to continue, please do so.
Sure. All right. So on the previous slide, we talked about some of the risk factors and the things that you need to kind of be on the lookout for. So now we're going to talk about the screening methods. And what I want to point out right here is the cartoon here of the colonoscopy procedure. A lot of people fear this procedure, but this procedure is not to be feared. It is a relatively straightforward procedure, and it doesn't take long to do. So I want you to pay attention to how this patient is positioned. They're positioned on their left side with their right leg up, and as you can see, the colonoscope, how it is starting to enter and survey the colon. You have about 5 feet of colon, okay? That's all we need to survey. The colonoscope itself is a little over 5 feet, and during that time that you are sedated with your IV, you really don't care what's going on, and this procedure takes anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes to complete. The hardest part about this procedure is the prep, getting yourself clean prior to, and you want to make sure you bring a clean colon to your colonoscopy. Think about a gun barrel for my gun guys out there that like to clean guns. When you clean that barrel, you want to look down that barrel, you don't want to see any kind of particles, all right? Because a clean gun is going to function well every time you need to use it. Same thing with your colon though. You want to have that clean colon when you show up for that colonoscopy so they don't miss those polyps that could be hidden if there were stool there. Now, this is a recommendation from the USPSTF, which is the United States Preventive Health Task Force, okay? This is one of the guidelines that practitioners and doctors follow in the community to make sure that our patients are being screened according to the evidence-based science that is out there, okay? Screening starts for colorectal cancer at age 50 to age 75, all right? So now, if you have risk factors, though, that are significant, and if you've had a first-degree relative, mom, dad, sister, brother, to die of colon cancer before the age of 60 or to be diagnosed before the age of 60, That places you above average risk at a higher risk, and you need to have your colonoscopy done in your 40s, likely 40 to 45, because you are now high risk. But there's several methods that you can do to screen for colorectal cancer. If you're sitting down to watch dinner right now, you're probably going to see the Cologuard, which is a stool specimen that you collect at home after having a bowel movement. You mail it in and they check it for blood. You can't see this blood because it's so small and microscopic that the naked eye can't see it. But with the techniques that they use to test for it, they're able to check for it. And if that stool specimen comes back negative, you don't need a colonoscopy. You've passed your colon cancer screening for that year. But if you send that stool card in every year, and it remains negative, you don't need a colonoscopy. But as soon as it tests positive for blood, you need a colonoscopy. And that stool card is called the fecal immunochemical test, or FIT as we call it for short. And that's a non-invasive way to just send a stool specimen in to have it tested. There's several other options as you can see here on this slide. A flexible sigmoidoscopy, which is done every 5 years. This is a very short colonoscopy. It doesn't survey your entire colon. I don't even recommend this one. And this one is typically done once you've had a full colonoscopy. They identify something that you need to come back for, and it's not in the entire length of the colon, so they can use a flexible sigmoidoscopy to just go to that specific spot. All right. CT colonography is basically a CT scan that's supposed to provide the same surveillance of a colonoscopy, but this is one catch. If they see anything abnormal on the CT scan, you still got to have a colonoscopy. And then you got to still prep the same for the CT colonography, which is a virtual colonoscopy, than you would for the same colonoscopy. So in my mind, if I'm a prep, I'm only prepping once. Do the colonoscopy and let's get it over with. But there is an option. Another option, as you'll see listed here, is the DCBE, which is a double contrast barium enema. Again, the prep is the same for a colonoscopy. And with this one, you will go to the radiology department. They will put a catheter into your rectum, and they will inject dye into your colon and allow it to absorb. And it will basically highlight or illuminate the colon on the scan when they look at it. Again, this is, an old way of doing this. And there are very few places that are still doing this, but depending on where you are in this country, this may be the only method available. But the prep is the same for a colonoscopy. So if I have an option for a colonoscopy versus a double contrast barium enema, guess what? I'm getting a colonoscopy, because guess what? The colonoscopy is the gold standard. If you can, go straight to the colonoscopy. Avoid all this other stuff. Just go straight to the colonoscopy. And depending on what they find, your colonoscopy can be as far out as 10 years from that date to as short as 6 months, 3 to 6 months, depending on what they find, okay? The key is knowing what your results are after the colonoscopy is done and making sure you follow up. Now, prevention with colorectal cancer is very simple. Consume a healthy diet, maintain a healthy weight, avoid alcohol and tobacco in excess, exercise, and get more fiber in your diet, okay? Now let's move on. Here, again, this is what I wanted to show you what the colonoscope looks like. If you look in the bottom right corner of this picture, you'll see what the tip or the head of the colonoscope looks like. All right. As you can see, there are several channels there. You see one listed in the blue. That's the lens, where they really can magnify things and look at them. To the right of that, you'll see another little slit. It is an irrigation tube where they can inject water and other things that might need to be done during the procedure. At the bottom, at about 4 o'clock, you'll see the light source where they shine and they're able to visualize the areas in the colon as they go through. And then at about 7 o'clock, you'll see the instrument port. And basically, this port allows us to channel and slide instruments down the side of the scope while it's in your colon and remove polyps, to do biopsies again. And a lot of other techniques that we do that they're way beyond what this call needs to be for tonight. But this scope has a number of different access points on it where they can screen and look for your colon and remove things. So again, colorectal cancer is one of the safest cancers, because with this scope and the powers of this scope, they are able to remove simple polyps, all right, and cure you. And all you got to do is go and have the procedure done. But as you can see how the scope is coming up into the colon, as you can see right there, it shows you a polyp that is about to remove. On the next slide, you'll see what a polyp looks like as it's being removed, all right? Next slide here. So I wanted to give you, again, kind of a depiction of what this looks like, what they're looking for when you have a colonoscopy, okay? That's the lining of the colon. You see the scope coming in on that left picture, but on that right picture, remember I told you how they lasso a polyp? They slide an instrument down that channel that is the instrument port, and they send it out, lasso that polyp, and then they turn it on. They can cauterize that area and cut that polyp off and bring it back to the pathologist to look at it to see if it is cancer. Again, let's say, for instance, that polyp you see in that right picture is cancer. They can completely remove that and cure you of cancer. You don't even have to have surgery. See how simple that is? And all it required is you prep for the procedure and have the colonoscopy. But if you allow that polyp that we're looking at to go undetected for years, it will for sure become cancer. It will for sure require some invasive surgery that will violate your body in a number of ways and could potentially take your life. Now, here's the other thing, and we're almost done here with colon cancer. As you can see, the picture on the left shows you what colon polyps look like. Now, I worked in gastroenterology, digestive diseases for almost 7 years and have looked at a number of these on camera. And I can tell you right now, that polyp straight ahead at 12 o'clock, that's a cancer polyp. I don't care what nobody says. You don't even need to tell me. That is cancer until proven otherwise. Because you look at the difference in the texture and color of the other two polyps that you see there versus that one at 12 o'clock. That is cancer. These can be surgically removed endoscopically, meaning when the scope is there, they can remove those very easily and cure you. Now, the one on the right is what cancer looks like. And this is what happens when you let a polyp go unattended to for years on end. So this person here on the right is definitely going to need to have surgery. They're likely going to have a colostomy bag for a short period of time in order to save their life and survive that cancer. All right. So now let's talk about, again, take-home points. Here we go. Colorectal cancer, third leading cause of cancer death in the United States, third most common cause of cancer in both men and women. Factors that include increase the risk are age, family history, high-fat diet, obesity, African-American race. And again, the current guidelines suggest that you be screened starting at age 50. And if you don't have any risk factors, you stay with that and you make a shared decision with your doctor. And there is no recommendations to screen you after age 75. With that said, I want to show you here. It's all, if you don't remember anything, remember that it's easier to stay well than it is to get well. Hashtag Priority Male. I am Eric, again, CEO of Pryority Male LLC, where men's health is the priority. Here you have, you want to email me questions, you're welcome to do so. This is Eric at PriorityMaleLLC.com. You can also visit the website at www.PriorityMaleLLC.com. Here are the resources that I got this information from. And again, these are vetted resources. Again, for my people that Google a lot, you got to make sure it's from a reputable scientific evidence-based source. All of these sources here that I've shared with you are from what we use in the medical arena to make sure that we are following the appropriate protocols to screen you appropriately. All right. And then again, here are my handles. I am on social media platforms, Instagram and Twitter at Priority_Male, and Facebook and YouTube at Priority Male. But I'm going to be honest with you, Brother James is way ahead of me with this YouTube thing, because this is a lot of work, and I haven't done a lot of work with that YouTube channel. There are some videos up there, and I just posted them and didn't put the sauce on it. But this brother here is going to put the sauce on this. It's going to be real nice when he finishes. I can't wait to see it. But you're welcome to follow me on one of those platforms, and I definitely recommend you follow Brother James here at Men to Heal, and he will help you in your life in many ways. And again, I'm here as a wellness lifestyle consultant and a community health educator and advocate to help you in any way that I can when it comes to your health. With that said, that's colorectal cancer, men, colorectal cancer awareness. I hope that you got something out of this. Again, I want to thank Brother James here for the opportunity to be on his platform and doing with the great things that he's doing here in the community. And I look forward to maybe partnering with him and doing a collab in the future. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen, we're going to do so much more in the future, man. But I definitely appreciate your knowledge, your insight for sharing this. And I definitely will put the sauce on it now, get that to you. So you can, you can share it on your platform as well, man. So
yes.
Because that's what it's about, man. I just want people to get access to the information. And a lot of men are often reluctant just based on the images and information that you shared. It's so much stigma surrounding it. And the fact of a lot of men don't get these services based on the fact of they don't want people to play with that back.
All right, now I've heard that. That's an exit. That ain't no interest. Get out. What you doing, man? Ain't no punk. I'm not doing that. I hear that all the time. But this is how I look at it, brother.
I heard it for the first time maybe 2 weeks or so ago. This guy is early 50s, like you highlighted in the slides. he was supposed to at least get it in his, you know, after age 35, 40 or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So he was in his early 50s and was like, man, I decided to go ahead and do it. But for the longest time, I didn't want the doctor plan back there and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So fortunate
Yeah.
enough for him, he didn't have any polyps or any other issues. And he said it was a good procedure. So, you
Yeah.
know, hopefully a lot of other men can see this, or a lot of wives or moms can encourage the men in our life to go ahead and at least inquire about the procedure. But another thing that I often highlight is the importance of early detection,
Oh
as well
yes.
as getting those yearly physicals. So hopefully my brothers listen to this information, man, and we can go from there. But again, I definitely appreciate you, boss. And people got your information. I'm going to sauce this up, man, and I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to make sure you get it, and we can go from there, boss. I definitely appreciate you.
Anytime, brother. Appreciate you having me, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Peace out.